well, of course, the Bright Eyes song. Do you know how did you start?
With Bright Eyes, I was commissioned by a director, the director of Watership Down movie, and he said to me, write a song about death. And I thought, well, how do you write a song about death? It's a very dark subject. Well, I went home and I thought, actually, it's the most important question, is what happens when you die. To us, it's important.
What do you believe then?
I don't know. I'd like to think we're not clever enough to know. Why should we know? Too many people claim to know what happens when you die. I admit that there's no manual. When you get born, there's no book. Well, people say there's the Quran, the Bible, and sure enough,
Tibetan Book of the Dead.
Yeah, I don't know what happens. So I wrote, is it a kind of dream floating out on the tide, following the river of death, following the river of death downstream? Is it a dream? And it was this mystical wondering about what happens. And that's how I cracked the song. And when I went back to the producer, they said to me, oh, we really like the song, but who would you like to record it? And I said, well, I'd like Art Garfunkel.
Why?
I just felt his voice was right for it. He had this lovely purity of voice that was just right for this kind of floating kind of song. And I gave them a list of 10 other people that sounded a little bit like Art Garfunkel. And I was number 10.
Number 2 and 3?
Colin Blunstone was probably number 2 or 3. I love his voice. Colin Blunstone from the Zombies. And I think John Anderson from Yes was somewhere in there on the list.
Paul McCartney?
Well, of course, Paul McCartney was way away from my dreams and expectations. I didn't even think he'd go anywhere near it. But yes, McCartney would have been a good choice. But I think to have the guy who sang Bridge Over Troubled Water sing your song was to me at the time the biggest honour I could possibly expect.
You were saying you wrote the lyrics, the first few lines.
Yeah.
Did you have the music already, or was it just you were saying blank paper, write the lines?
I often find that if I'm at the piano and I'm thinking of lyrics while I'm at the piano, it's a good idea. Sometimes I can be in a plane and I write a whole lyric for a song, and then I'll go home and set it to music.
With this song?
With this song, I was at the piano and I was thinking, my God, what can I write? You know, what ideas can I think of? And I thought, actually, if you think of I won't write about death, I'll write about life. So bright eyes, that's what you have, you're the twinkle in your eye when you're alive, which is gone when you're dead. And where does it go? That was my question. How can the light that burns so brightly suddenly burn so pale? Was my direction. And once I got that, the music came with it, kind of more or less at the same time. And interestingly, at least I think it's interesting, I read an interview by Paul Simon, who said exactly the same. He said his best songs always come when he's sitting with a guitar and he thinks of a lyric while he's playing a little tune. And once you've got the beginnings of the song, then you use what I hope you would call your craftsmanship and your imagination and your experience to build it into a song.